are back. Hello, Dean.
Hey there. We feeling
What's
live
going
now?
on?
Did we get it? Are we on?
We are on, and I have a little bit of an echo again, which I don't know what's going on here, but I seem to be. But I think we're good. We'll have our technicians, obviously that we have on retainer,
Right.
come in and just rewire the whole studio and everything, which that's a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, last time that when we were here, we kind of introed what Dean and I are kind of about, and we came up with the next episode. What did we decide on?
I think today we're going to ask ourselves the question, how did Charlie fit in there?
Yeah, that was it. So I'll start a little bit. So we have a history of obviously friendship for 20, 30 something years, whatever it is. And then we started DJing together, doing clubs, doing weddings, private parties. And we did a wedding in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And if I remember it, I was thinking about it today. It was the Spaghetti Station.
I think it was near the train station or just off the rails or something like that. It almost looked like a little ticket building. Oh, that's it right there.
That's it right there. So I went online, and I kind of looked and I'm like, that's it. It was an old rail cart, right?
Yep.
And the restaurant was built kind of around it, and the caption says it kind of filled that the car was still there, but they filled and paved for more parking spaces, yada yada yada. But really, really cool building. It's still there today. To the right of that picture is kind of the more modern front entrance of like the banquet facility. It's kind of, more modern and everything, but this still stays intact. Pretty good, cool building for sure. It's kind of a landmark in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Brings back memories for sure.
So if you remember that wedding, so as you, Charlie, and I, we go to this wedding, and we do our thing like we normally do, but it was the one, and I think the last one that you and Charlie decided to drink wine.
Yeah. Well, let's put blame where blame is due, right? I mean, this was a bride and groom who paid for their own wedding. There wasn't, a whole bunch of family dollars thrown out. So they supplied a keg or two to the reception, and then the hall had like flasks of wine available for the tables.
Yeah.
There must have been something wrong with that keg of beer because it disappeared pretty early in the evening.
So yes, now I remember. So it was a wedding, and I'm not here. Everyone out there that's from the state of Wisconsin, God bless you. I love the state, but they go a little bit less tradition or uppity on their wedding receptions. They have them in the backyard or someone's farm, or when they do have it at a facility, it's not like, I mean, I'm used to the state of Illinois where you walk in there, it's $75 a plate, it's got the bartender, the chandeliers. Well, this facility, nice facility, but the bride and groom didn't have an open bar. They had a keg of beer in the corner of the banquet facility, like in the rental blue cooler, right? They put like the
bucket with ice around it,
right? Yeah. And they dialed it up like with a tablecloth to make it look a little fancier. I don't know. And the beer, I don't know how many guests. It was probably 100 people, 125 people guests, right?
Yeah, I would guess that, because that room was pretty full for a good part of the evening.
And I know, especially during hockey season, my buddies and I, we can drink some beer. We were going to a keg a week during playoffs. Now that's a lot of people.
Just at your space in Manland, back behind your house.
Yeah,
where your buddies are hanging
Illinois,
out. Right?
We call it Manland, and I'll have sometimes on a playoff game 15 guys over, and the Hawks could play on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Depending on the travel schedule or whatever the case might be. And we're going through Cardinal Liquor in Gurnee. We're like, oh, you're a great client during,
you're a great client. We'll put you down
for. We go to a keg a week. Well,
Yeah.
this wedding was 125 people. So that's more than 4 times, you know, the the
Yeah.
number of drinking out of this cake. Well, it dried up semi quickly. And Charlie and Dean weren't really done partaking in drinking a little bit here and there
Well,
during the
as
show.
your night goes on DJing, you gotta be in the same loose mentality as your audience so you can perform well, right?
Right.
So we needed a few more libations to keep us going, right? So we're looking around the room and we're like,
No one's drinking these.
nobody's drinking that wine. Think it'd be okay if we grabbed a flask or two and brought it back to the DJ booth?
Yeah.
So we
And
did.
I'll go on the record. And to this day, other than wine coolers when I was in high school, I've never drinking a glass of wine. So I did not drink wine. It was Charlie and Dean. Now, granted, all the listeners out there, I've heard being drunk on wine is not good. Like,
It's a
especially the
special
hangover.
kind of feeling.
And Dean and Charlie was what do we call snooker. And I thought I'd have a picture of Charlie here somewhere on that night. Yeah, I kind of look like that. There's Charlie.
That one may have been doctored, but the same net effect, right?
Right.
So after a 4 or 5 hour show, right? Because you show up, you do cocktail music, you play the intros, the father-daughter dance, the bride and groom first song, and then get into the dance music and wind it out with some rowdy stuff. So at the end of 5 hours, probably 3 of which we were drinking wine flasks off the tables.
Yeah.
Now we get to pack up and call it a night, right?
Now yeah, right. I wish we had Charlie on this call on this podcast because Charlie and I were playing during cocktail hour. No, during the dinner. I don't think they sat us down to eat. So we just
I think we were out in the regular restaurant part of the building.
So we went out there. We left some dinner music on, of course, while all the guests and the bride and groom and families are they're eating. And Charlie and I started playing pinball machine. And back in the day, I owned a pinball machine.
Yeah.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, we loved it, whatever. But we're playing it, and this little kid who was part of the wedding party or one of the guest kids, whatever. We were winning free games and everything. And he wants to know we're about ready done, and he wants to know how we keep winning free games. Remember this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we let him play. And I think he's playing on our quarter still or whatever. And
you put in 1 quarter and played for about 45 minutes.
Right. And we kept on telling him, no, you're doing it wrong. It's all in the flippers. Even when the ball's not coming, you got to go left, left, right, left, and you'll get a free game.
Left, right, left.
Right.
Okay.
So this kid kept on doing this, and then we're like, no, because the ball would go down and he wouldn't get a free game or something. He'd lose the ball, and then we'd do no, it's right, left, right, left.
And poor kid tried probably 50 different times to win a game.
We kept changing it on him.
Yeah.
We're not the best sports, but that's when I mean you're going back some years where Charlie and Dean we didn't do all kinds of weddings together.
Not all 3 of us, because you usually send us off in different directions. A couple of the bigger ones we did together. Oh, look at that mug.
Oh my God. So that you I don't know. That's when oh my gosh. So we were not rich or wealthy or came from very wealthy families. We earned all our dollars. We worked our butts off. But I saved up enough money and I got what I called the Garth Brooks mics. They're on your head.
Wireless headsets. Yeah.
Yeah, the wireless headsets. And we just thought we were like, oh man, we're going to be famous or something. But that's I could tell I have that. Charlie's got his Tasmanian devil vest
I just
on.
noticed that. Got his Taz vest on.
And I think
if you look closely at Mike there, on the right side there was a few hairs on top of your head ago.
What are you trying to say?
Well, you notice I got the hat on. So
yeah, but we were a lot thinner, a lot younger. Charlie, you can see, vacationed a lot more than we did or something.
Yeah, he had a tan. What's that all about?
Actually worked outside a lot back in those days, but those were quite the experience. But
Yeah.
moving forward, so we finished this wedding, and I'm not being conceited, but we rocked them. They loved us. We had a good time, and now it's time to pack up and go home.
And we're done at like midnight, right?
Right.
That's usually a typical done time
And
for a
here,
wedding like this.
for everyone out there, everyone back in the day always used to say, "Oh my God, you guys got the best job. You play tunes," and I'd always rebuttal, go, "Listen, we watch everybody else have a good time, but we're working. We got to read a crowd. We got to make sure that everything's queued up right at the right time, and be the master of ceremonies. Make sure the bride and groom are in the same room when they're when we're announcing cutting the cake or whatever." So we, I called it the DJ get even. So when midnight came, now this is the worst time of the evening. I mean, you're like thankful that you're done, but now you got to pack everything up.
Yeah.
And back in
And
the
remember,
day,
this is your equipment when it was packed
oh,
or when it was built to, would endure some jostling around in the back of a car.
yeah,
So there was nothing light about any of it.
no, none of these preamp speakers they have now, and they bring a laptop and whatever. We had one amplifier, if not two, sometimes, depending
Yep.
on if we had subs. We
Yep.
had PV,
Got the great big sub on the ground, put a post on top of the sub, and then what should have been the lightweight speaker only weighed like 40 pounds to put on top of that.
Yeah. And again, in the coffin case, and I think I had turntables back then too. So
yeah, this is probably right at the time we stopped using the turntable, but it still looked pretty cool when it was set up.
And so we'd pack up. Now, if anyone ever went on vacation in their entire life, my dad was an expert at packing a trunk, right? I think I skipped that learning process with my father because we packed, well, I take this back. We'd pack the equipment good when we'd go to the show, but getting out of there,
Yeah.
we want to get the heck out of there. So
Right.
we wouldn't.
It wasn't quite as precise the
Right.
second time around.
So now this is a S10 Blazer, 4-door. Oh, we got a little bit more room, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And 3 grown men and all this equipment you got to put in there. And it worked perfect on the way up there.
Yeah.
Well, on the way back, we
were really tight. Like barely could get all 3 of us in there.
That's, what happened is like what we like to call it is Charlie, which was the biggest one out of both of us, right? He was larger than you and me, right?
Yeah.
There's this like this little spot left when you open up the driver's passenger, the back door, and he had to fit in, you know,
kind of wedged in there, a little sideways, a little whatever.
And
almost pushed against the glass when he closed the door, right? So you could see him the whole time.
Right. And we probably slammed him shut like
starting.
We
wedged him in there a little bit
because it wasn't us, right?
Right.
And
so then we stopped at some little roadhouse bar, like
no,
halfway between there and home, right?
No. You're fast forwarding too fast here.
Oh, okay.
So now remember, folks, I can't say I'm the sober one here, but I'm the most sober, not because towards the end we kind of tip them a little bit. We're driving from Kenosha, Wisconsin. I don't know what road the spaghetti station's on. And we decide, well, we owe it to ourselves. Everybody else had a good time tonight. Now, this is our reward. We're going to stop and have a cocktail at a bar.
Yeah, right.
And I think
it was a Roadhouse something, but I don't remember the name of it.
It was a kayak bar back in the day. It was Cagney's, right? Was it Cagney's? Okay. Or
could have been.
Turned
something
into
Roadhouse,
whatever
I thought it was called. Yeah.
So we go... We
kind of stumble in.
Yeah. Well, again, don't fast forward. On the way there, we go, okay, we've kind of had too much to drink. And Dean decides, because I go, man, I got to drive. He goes, all right, this is what we'll do. You watch the left line. I'll watch the right line. And it made perfectly good sense to me at the time.
That seems very logical to me.
And we're driving. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I think you yelled out that a car's coming right at us.
Look out.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I'm 10 and 2, I'm like, oh shit. And we realized that the car is still about 100 yards away from us or something,
Yeah. Like the lights are at least quarter mile away.
Yeah. So
Whoops.
we make it there. We all get out. We go into
Yeah.
the bar. I think I ordered a 64 or Miller Lite, whatever I was drinking at the time. You ordered a
Yep.
High Life.
Got a High Life.
Right.
Yeah.
And Charlie ordered the keys.
The keys.
He
He
goes,
didn't want another beer.
he goes, I can't do it. And yeah, he ordered the keys. Well, wait a minute. Did he take my keys? And because we couldn't find them in the bar, right?
Maybe I don't know. He ended up with them because he got back in the vehicle.
Right. And we looked around for the bar. Again, we were such loyal friends. I think we looked for about 30 seconds. We're like, we'll find them later. And kept drinking. And they had the barber chair there.
Was that tipped back?
Yeah, they'd put people in it, fill it with a shot and slam them up. Right.
Yeah.
So we end up leaving, and quite frankly, I don't even know if we said, "Hey, we got to get Charlie." I think we were just leaving. I mean, I think we might have been.
No, I think we knew he went to the car, right?
Okay.
But as we're walking up to the car, we don't see Charlie. Because remember, when we crammed him in there before, he was pressed up against the glass. You could see that he was in there.
Yeah.
And now we're looking around like, where would he have gone? He couldn't have walked very far in that condition. We look in the front seat, driver's side, passenger side. He's not there. And I think you opened up the side door and he had crammed himself into a space smaller than the speaker. And, he's 6 feet tall, 275, not at all limber. I have no idea how he got in there.
I'm telling you. And like I said, Charlie was a big guy. And I don't even know how he shut the door behind him, Yeah. It's easy if someone's on the other side kind of shoving them in there. And but
I half expected to turn around, look at the back of the car, and he took a speaker out, set it on the ground. But he got in there with every piece of equipment. To this day, I don't think if we asked him, he'd be able to tell us how it happened.
And he's always a happy-go-lucky guy. I just do a pick up there of, there's Charlie and his sombrero at Manland one night or whatever. But he didn't complain or anything. And when I was telling you about on the way to the bar about the left line and the right line, that might have been after we left the bar on the way to get home.
That could have been on the way back to your place to unload equipment. Yeah.
But yeah, those were the days. I'm sitting there and sure anything, I'm on my way home today before the podcast, and I just flip around radio stations. What song comes on? And I'm like,
wow.
Red Wine comes on, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of ironic.
My mouth is getting dry, and I'm getting a little woozy just listening to it.
Yeah, right. Hey, let me ask before we cut it off for tonight. Do you drink wine to this?
I'll have like a glass at an event that calls for it, but I don't drink wine anymore.
I don't know. My wife, she's not a big drinker, but she'll have a glass of wine every blue moon. And she always asks me, do you want to try it? I'm like, no. Now, I don't even know if it's because I don't want to try new things, or in the back of my head, I remember that day, that night where, wow.
You're afraid you're going to end up smashed in the back of a car in a space smaller than a speaker.
Well, and you got to remember, like, I've been drinking with Dean and Charlie many times in my life, and we've had too many a couple different times, but I've never seen them. It was a different switch of drunk with these guys. And again, I'm sure I was being the most responsible one and not encouraging.
Right, made sure we all got home safe. Yeah, right. Yeah. And we don't encourage this, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no,
this is, this is for illustrative purposes only.
Yeah. But that was a good time. And I was trying to think like listeners out there that we kind of wanted to say, you know what, instead of us doing all the talking and stuff, that we're gonna make sure that you guys comment, because there's got to be some other people out there that kind of had some of the same kind of experiences.
Yeah,
And,
I'm sure people have instances where, how did Robbie find his way to the back of the car? We
right.
left him. You know?
Like we can't be the only dumb guys that ever, tried this on for size or something,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
and but I flash up there, email us at info@mikeanddean.com. Check us out on the website, mikeanddean.com. We are
You can even find
posting.
us on Facebook too, right?
Oh, we do have a Facebook channel
Yeah.
as well. What do you
I
do?
went
Your
out there
search.
to Facebook today and then posted a little highlight reel from Michael Kuhn out there on our golf trip from this past
Oh
August.
no.
No, it was a good one. It was
Oh
like
yeah.
it worked just as you planned. And Mike, do you
Oh.
have anything you want to say to the people? Goodbye ball. And you
Oh
actually
yeah.
hit a very good shot and we caught it on video. So there is
So
proof
one in
that every now and
one in a
then you could
million,
actually
right?
hit it.
Right. Well, that's all I got for today. I know we're
Yep.
trying to make this short and sweet, but we totally encourage anybody out there to email us with some of your. It doesn't have to be about drinking or kind of this wine thing, but we kind of want to know if anyone has any similar kind of bad intentions night, or I don't even know how to
Yeah.
phrase it. But
Yeah.
there's got to be some stories out there. But what else? You got anything else, Dino?
No, I think I'm good for the night. But folks, go ahead, hit us up on one of these media pages, ask us a question, leave us a story. We'll reach out, try to find some parallels in what we've done, and maybe share it on a future show.
Oh, and if you do not want us to share your names or where you're from, that's fine. But if you don't mind, we'll throw you a perk, a kind of a pitch online, and tell your stories to the guests and stuff. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I know I always have a good time doing this, man. Um, anything else, Rutherfeld, Rudebaker, Brusenhausen?
We'll get into some of our rivalries next time, I think.
Oh,
that could be some good discussion right there.
Hey, by the way, how did the Chiefs do over the weekend?
I'm sorry, I think you're cutting out a little bit. I can't hear you very well now.
Yeah. How about those Raiders? All right, Dino, it was great.
All right, thanks, Cone.
Folks, we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, give me the beat, boys, and free my soul.